All right, so, we loved digging into your searches here, and today we've got a really intriguing collection,
Mr. Fascinating.
all centered around
Lot of it.
celestial events happening in 2025. And one thing is crystal clear. Um, the moon has totally captivated your attention,
Absolutely.
specifically lunar eclipses, and this phrase we see popping up everywhere, blood moon.
Yeah, you want to know about blood moons?
So our mission today, and we definitely accept it,
Of
is
that.
to take this collection of your searches and really distill it down to the most important insights so you can walk away with a clear picture of what's happening with our lunar neighbor in 2025.
Right, and it's amazing how focused these searches are. The sheer repetition of phrases like lunar eclipse 2025, blood moon, and especially March, that really tells a story.
It
You're
does.
not just, casually curious. You're exploring this from every angle, from the most basic question of what is a lunar eclipse, all the way to the nitty-gritty, like what time is the lunar eclipse?
Yeah, and what's so fascinating to me is how these searches overlap. It's not just a fleeting interest. You're connecting the dots, lunar eclipse plus blood moon, plus when and where can I see it?
Exactly. It's like you're piecing together a puzzle.
It is. All right, so let's jump right in for those who might be new to this whole thing. What exactly is a lunar eclipse and why this dramatic blood moon label?
Okay, so picture this, the sun, the earth, and the moon all lined up in space.
Okay,
A lunar eclipse happens when the earth slides right between the sun and the moon.
got it.
And because of that, our planet casts a shadow onto the moon.
So it's Earth's shadow that's causing the eclipse.
Now, a blood moon is really just a nickname for a total lunar eclipse.
Okay.
When the moon moves completely into the Earth's darkest shadow, that's called the umbra.
The umbra.
It doesn't just vanish. Instead, it often glows with this reddish or coppery light.
A reddish glow. Wow, that sounds more like something out of, a movie than actual science.
Right.
Why red is the moon actually changing color?
Not in the way you're thinking, like a traffic light changing color. No.
Okay.
The red we see, it all comes down to how sunlight interacts with the Earth's atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, it's kind of like why sunsets are red.
Oh, interesting.
So as sunlight travels through our atmosphere, the blue light gets scattered away more easily than the red light.
So the blue light scatters.
Right. And during a total lunar eclipse, the only sunlight that can still reach the moon has had to pass through this atmospheric filter.
So it's filtered light.
Exactly. This filtered reddish light then bends or refracts towards the moon, and that's what gives it that distinctive hue.
Ah, so it's like a sunset effect, but on this huge cosmic scale.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so with all these searches zeroing in on March 2025, it's a pretty safe bet to say there's a lunar eclipse happening then.
Oh, absolutely. The sheer number of searches for lunar eclipse and March 2025 together, and then you add in blood moon March 2025, that really points to a widely anticipated event that month.
Yeah, people are excited about this one. And we're seeing two specific dates mentioned quite a bit, March 13 and March 14. Is there a particular date we should all mark on our calendars?
That's a sharp eye you have there. The reason you're seeing both dates is because the eclipse will happen at a specific universal time.
Okay.
But when you translate that to different time zones around the world, it could fall on either the 13th or the 14th, depending on where you are.
Right. Time zones always make things tricky.
They do. But that cluster of searches really nails down the window of opportunity.
Absolutely. And then we see this just flood of questions about timing. What time is the lunar eclipse? When does it start? Peak time. Even tonight shows up a bunch, which
Right.
obviously refers to when the searches were made, but it highlights that need to know exactly when to look up.
Okay, everyone's ready to go outside and see this thing.
I know, right? And speaking of location, we see all these time zones mentioned EST, PST, Central Time, and then people get specific California, Ohio, Texas, Chicago, Colorado, Florida, Eastern Time, Central Time, Pacific Time, even Hawaii.
Wow, that's a lot of places.
It is. And what it tells me is you and everyone else out there really want to know, will this be visible from my little corner of the world?
And will it be at a decent hour?
Exactly. It's about that personal connection to the event. When will I get to see this? And then we get into some more technical terms with totality. We see lunar eclipse totality time. And when is totality tonight? What exactly does totality mean when we're talking about a lunar eclipse?
Okay, so totality is like the grand finale of a total lunar eclipse. It's the moment when the entire moon is completely submerged in the Earth's umbra. Remember, that's the darkest part of its shadow.
Right.
And this is when that blood red color is usually the most intense and dramatic.
So that's the peak of the red.
Exactly. Those searches are all about figuring out when the moon will be completely bathed in that reddish light.
Okay, so totality is the peak viewing time. Got it. And then, of course, the next question is, will we even be able to see it?
Yep.
We've got searches like visibility map, where can I see? And then very specific places. Again, California, Ohio, Texas, Chicago, Colorado, Florida, Seattle, Los Angeles.
People want to know if they can just step outside their door and see this, or if they need to travel.
Right, and a visibility map would show which parts of the world can actually see the eclipse. And those city-specific searches, they indicate a desire for local viewing info or maybe even organized events.
Yeah, like eclipse viewing parties.
Exactly, and then the practical questions come in. How long will the lunar eclipse last? I guess people are trying to figure out, do I need to block off my whole evening for this?
Right. Or can they just catch a glimpse?
Exactly. So tell us about the whole timeline of a lunar eclipse.
Sure. So it unfolds in stages. It begins when the moon starts entering the penumbra, that's Earth's faint outer shadow.
Okay,
Then it moves into the umbra that culminates in the period of totality.
that's the main event.
Right. And then the whole process reverses the moon, exits the umbra, and finally the penumbra.
Okay, so there's a whole build-up and then a come down.
Exactly. And those searches about duration are all about understanding that entire timeline.
Cool. All right, now let's talk about the full moon connection, because we're seeing a lot of searches for full moon March 2025. Just full moon, is it a full moon tonight? When is the next full moon? And we even see this intriguing term, worm moon.
I love that one.
Me too. So what's the connection between a lunar eclipse and a full moon?
Okay, so a lunar eclipse can only happen during a full moon.
Really?
Think about it. For Earth to cast its shadow on the moon, the Earth has to be positioned directly between the sun and the moon.
Right.
And that alignment is exactly what we call a full moon.
Got it.
Now, worm moon, that's a traditional name for the full moon that occurs in March. It signifies the time of year when earthworms typically reappear in the northern hemisphere as the ground thaws.
Ah, so it's tied to the season.
Exactly. So those searches linking warm moon with the March full moon are spot on for the timing of this eclipse.
I love that it's this nice little blend of folklore and science.
I know, it's so cool.
Okay, so your detective work also flags some other related terms in these searches.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in here.
Should we touch on those briefly?
Yeah, definitely. We see solar eclipse 2025 and solar eclipse March 2025.
Interesting.
This tells us there's a general awareness of other eclipse events happening in 2025, maybe around the same time as the lunar eclipse.
Maybe people are hoping for a double eclipse.
It's possible now a solar eclipse is a totally different phenomenon where the moon passes between the sun and the Earth.
Right.
But the fact that these searches are popping up alongside the lunar eclipse searches is interesting. It suggests a heightened interest in celestial alignments in 2025.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we also see red moon, and red moon 2025 sounds like that's just another way people are referring to a blood moon, right?
Exactly. Red moon is a perfectly understandable synonym for blood moon. They both describe that reddish color during a total lunar eclipse.
Okay, and then there's blue moon, which is something else entirely, isn't it?
Yeah, blue moon can mean a couple things.
Yeah.
It can refer to the third full moon in a season that has 4 full moons.
Okay.
Or more commonly, it's the second full moon within a single calendar month.
Right, so it's still connected to the full moon cycle.
Definitely. But it's not directly related to a lunar eclipse. Its presence in these searches, though, tells us there's this broader fascination with anything unusual or notable happening with the moon.
It makes sense. Okay. We also see Griffith Observatory and Griffith Observatory live stream. That seems like a pretty strong indication of a potential viewing spot or a way to experience the eclipse virtually, especially for those on the West Coast.
Right. Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles is well known for its astronomy programs, and they've got amazing views of the night sky.
Yeah, their live streams are super popular too.
So it looks like people are thinking about local viewing options and virtual experiences.
Makes sense. And of course, we can't forget NASA Lunar Eclipse and Lunar Eclipse live stream. People are definitely looking for reliable info and ways to watch remotely.
Oh, for sure. NASA's the ultimate authority on these kinds of events.
And live streams are making it possible for anyone anywhere to watch these things no matter the weather or light pollution.
Right. It's really democratized astronomy in a way.
It has, okay, we also see penumbral lunar eclipse and partial lunar eclipse. So it seems like while the blood moon or total eclipse is the main attraction, there are other, maybe less dramatic kinds of lunar eclipses.
You got it. A penumbral lunar eclipse happens when the moon passes only through the Earth's penumbra, that faint outer part of its shadow.
Oh.
And these can be really subtle. Sometimes you might not even notice it's happening.
Interesting.
Then there's the partial lunar eclipse, where only a portion of the moon passes through Earth's umbra. It kind of looks like someone took a bite out of the moon.
Oh, I've seen those.
And then, of course, the total lunar eclipse, where the whole moon is covered by the umbra, that's the one that can create that spectacular blood moon.
Okay, so blood moon is basically shorthand for total lunar eclipse, which seems to be what everyone's really excited about for March 2025.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's do a quick recap on why is the moon red tonight, and what causes a lunar eclipse.
Okay, so just to reiterate, a lunar eclipse happens when the Earth blocks the sunlight from reaching the moon. And that red color we see during totality, it's all because of sunlight being scattered and bent by Earth's atmosphere. The red wavelengths get bent towards the moon, so it's like the Earth is painting the moon red with its sunsets.
I love that analogy. And lastly, it's fascinating to see how many searches are looking both back and forward in time. We've got when was the last blood moon? When was the last lunar eclipse? When is the next blood moon? And when is the next lunar eclipse?
Yeah, once people experience these events or even just learn about them, it sparks this curiosity about the bigger picture.
It does. It's like they want to know when the next celestial show is happening.
They want to understand the frequency, the predictability, maybe even the historical significance of these events.
Absolutely. It's all about putting this one event into the larger context of the cosmos.
Exactly.
Okay, so wrapping it all up, the big takeaway from your searches is there's a ton of anticipation for a total lunar eclipse or blood moon expected in March 2025. People are digging for the exact date. March 13th or 14th seems to be the key time frame. They want the precise time for their location, the best viewing spots, and of course the science behind that eerie red glow.
It's fantastic to see this level of engagement with a celestial event. It's like everyone's getting ready for a cosmic watch party.
I love it. And you know what? It really makes you wonder what other celestial events in 2025 might be generating the same level of buzz.
Right. What else is out there?
So to our listeners, you've clearly tapped into a major element on the 2025 celestial calendar, and this intense interest in the timing and visibility of this lunar eclipse. It begs the question, what else is going to capture our collective imagination that year?
It's a great question.
What other wonders might 2025 hold? Well, that's a whole other deep dive for you to embark on. Maybe start by checking out NASA's website or your favorite astronomy publications. See what other secrets the universe is willing to reveal.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for listening and keep those searches coming.
We love exploring them.
Until next time, bye.